Good evening, everybody. This is the Auburn School Buildings Committee meeting for Wednesday, March 20th, 6 p.m. I'd like to open the meeting, and if we could rise and for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. This meeting is being recorded. Ask if anybody else is recording. No one is. Okay. First item on the agenda is citizens' comments. No citizens' comments. Next item, the update on the meeting with MSBA. We did have our interim meeting with MSBA. That is the we worked out they worked out and we're all settled with the final the budget as it stands right at the moment. That's the long sheet that's here with the yellow and stuff. That works down. So basically, at the moment, we're at total project budget of $44,575,234. There are contingencies built into that. We're early on in the project. Hopefully, with as we get into bidding and stuff, that we'll be able to bring some of these numbers down as we're going forward. But that's the benchmark where we start. Anything over this is 100% ours. Anything under, as we get savings and stuff, and this gets redone through the next, we have a DD and then the design development, and then at the construction documents as estimates, and then after the bids are done, this all gets redone. So any savings we share with the state. It just means that this all gets recalculated, and it,
Would that be less for the taxpayers then, right?
Yeah, any money we save on the whole thing, it's gonna drop it down any further. So
Good luck, I know that.
right. And along with that, now that we have a number in place at the moment, Mr. Kaznovich has done the funding for the middle school project with a projection for a 20-year funding based on 3% at this rate. So it's the worst case, for the funding impacts and stuff, and hopefully it'll only get better as we keep on refining the project and the budget. The state was happy with everything. I mean, we were one of the few projects that actually at this point already had our DESE, which is the Department of Education Special
Elementary and secondary.
Oh, elementary and secondary education, dealing with our special ed or life care,
Our special education program in life skills, yes.
That we are completely signed off at this point, and they're on board with everything we have. There's no discussions about it, so that was actually in their minds in MSBA. That's one of the few projects I've seen this quick through it. So that's good on the design side. So that's one big hurdle out of the way that we don't have to worry about. The big item for tonight's meeting really is so with that, actually, before we are on for the April 3rd MSBA board meeting. So, barring any major crisis or whatever, it should be voted on April 3rd, and then we've got the town meeting and then the town vote in May for the whole project. So for tonight's meeting, one of the big items is the warrants that we need to approve and sponsor or co-sponsor with the school committee for the project. They're in the packets and they're emailed out. There's 3 different warrants that we're looking at tonight. That all deal with the project and the funding and the parcel of land. So I'll read through them here. To see if the town will vote to appropriate, borrow, or transfer from available funds an amount of money to be expended under the direction of the school building committee to construct a new Auburn Middle School on the West Street site, which school facility shall have an anticipated useful life as an educational facility for the instruction of school children of at least 50 years, and for which the town will be eligible for a construction grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority The town acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any project costs the town incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the town. Any grant from the town may receive any grant that the town may receive from the MSBA for the project shall not exceed the lesser of 1, 58.61% of eligible approved project costs as determined by MSBA, or 2, the total maximum grant amount determined by MSBA. That's basically what the town has to bond the entire cost of the project up front, even though and then we start as we incur costs, as we did through the pre-construction phase, we submit and they start refunding the money immediately as we're matching the money as we're going along. So it's just that in the event that something happens on the state side, the project has all the funding available. That's what they require. We had to do the same thing with the pre-construction, the original $600,000. The town had to bond the entire amount, and then we go for reimbursement every month as we submit bills. That's basically that's the first article. The second article is to see if the town will vote to appropriate the sum of $325,000 from the stabilization account for the acquisition of a 6.5 plus or minus acre parcel owned by the Auburn Masonic Charitable Association, Inc. for the proposed Auburn Middle School project, subject to a successful debt exclusion vote to be held at the May 2013 annual town election, or act on anything relative hereto. So this is in the last in the fall town meeting they set aside, I think it was $600,000 into the stabilization account for this and for other uses. So this is just asking for the permission to have that come out. The next article is to see if the town will vote to authorize the Board of Selectmen to execute deeds for the acquisition of a 6.5 plus or minus acre parcel owned by the Auburn Masonic Charitable Association, Inc. for the purposes of the middle school project, subject to a successful debt exclusion vote to be held in May 2013 annual town election, or act on anything hereto, anything relative thereto. So it's just authorizing obviously the selectmen to go ahead and, after the money's been released, if the town votes, I mean these are all contingent on the debt exclusion vote for the annual May election. If that comes out positive, then these would all go forward, and if they voted it down, then these all become null. So are there any questions on?
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
As far as the first article, is that somewhat of a standard article that MSBA puts out?
Yes, it was. It was all wording that we got from MSBA. Okay. It'll be subject to some minor review by town council and then by MSBA again, just for the final, to make sure that everything's fine.
Now, a follow-up now is, I just, in my own mind, don't have any problems with it because I guess this is a road you have to go down, but this anticipated useful life as an educational facility for the instruction of school children, and the facility is supposed to have a possible life for 50 years. If something happened, let's say 38 years down the road, would the town have any problems with this because of that one statement that's in there that says that it has to be for instruction of students? I mean, let's just say somebody around here wanted to expand and this building looked beautiful to them and they wanted to purchase the building. Would that restrict us? I don't know if you could answer that.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know that I have an answer for that one. I think we had to put that back to town council, but I mean,
and I okay.
And let Marianne, I mean, it's an anticipated useful life, but I don't know.
That's what I was
Yeah,
going
it's
to point
not-
to, is it's anticipated useful life as an educational facility. So I think that it is based on what you believe going in at this point. I mean, the intention would be to have it be used as an educational facility for as long as it's in existence and in good working order, which could far exceed 50 years. But I'd have to ask. But
Yeah.
I can tell you this language is taken directly from MSBA.
Yeah, well,
It is a language that must be used.
I asked the question, and that's the reason why I asked up front, because I felt that it certainly is theirs. And.
I mean, I think part of it
guess
too
this
is that they're trying not to have, you know, if we came in and tried to build a temporary facility for a while, just as a stopgap or something, you know, that you're building a permanent, you know, type of buildings
Yeah.
and stuff, you're not, you know, I think, but
Right.
Mr. Chairman, you hit on something that, you know, here we go get 58% paid by the state, and 5 years later, we turn around and sell it.
it's
But
not
I think-
likely.
I think the question needs to be
Answered.
addressed.
Yeah.
And the only other question I have, and I know we had, I don't know if it was just school, we had one of these articles before, and they always say, may be eligible for a school construction grant, and my question was, if the state goes down a tube and doesn't have a dime that they're gonna send our way, that's the reason, the main reason why the town picks up
That's why we had to bond the
whole
entire
thing
amount to begin with,
for the
right?
amount, so
Right.
that if we get reimbursed, that's wonderful, but if circumstances are such that the Commonwealth can't meet that side of the coin, the project still goes on and gets completed.
Right.
Okay. That,
I mean, it's, you know, and that's part of the, you know, the original bond, the original bonding is also a short term for construction, and then, you know, once we've done with the reimbursement from the state, it gets rebonded again for the lower amount, so they don't tie up, you know, bonding capacity on the town side and everything, but I mean, you're right. I mean, the only good news is that so far, the way MSBA is funded, you know, they're funded off of what, 1 penny of every, you know, they're taking in on, you know, of every sales tax dollar, so.
yeah, but they want to reduce that now, don't they?
I mean, they've been doing it, and it's been, you know, it's been left alone as compared to everything else, but I mean, anything's possible these days. I mean, you know.
They want to reduce that and have more money go to build roads. And that's where the educational fund comes out of. Okay, well, thank you very much.
But, Mr. Chairman, if I could expound on that. Once MSBA, Duncan Hines seal of approval, April, whatever,
3rd.
thank you, and the town has voted these, don't we have the money, but it's sitting over there? That's committed by the state to us?
But-
In essence?
That's a
Yeah.
good question.
I mean, in essence, but it's like, I mean, that's where their wiggle room that they have for the, you know, it's an entitlement, not a, you know, it's not an entitlement, it's a, you know.
But I think 5 years down
Grant.
the line, they're not gonna say, hey, we can't give you any more money.
No, but I mean, hopefully 5 years down the road, we've already built and
There's
moved
a
into the
short
place.
I think this is more or less for a short window of time, correct? Because once we start receiving money from them, it's just,
It should be,
you know,
yeah,
I think.
Well, I'm not concerned that
Well,
it's
you know,
not going to
if
happen,
they're
but
saying if this
it's
is
just the way it
that's
says may,
vote for that, commit to that.
anything that, when the government says, we may do this and we may do that, and then
Yeah,
several years
That's-
comes
that's
by and the may
questionable.
disappears.
It's politicians, right? and stuff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
any other questions?
Mr. Chairman, and this may go back to just how these things are written appropriately. In the warrant article, it doesn't talk about anything about contingent upon the vote of the town. I know in the motion it talks about it. Is that something that has to be left out of the actual article itself? Where it talks about it's binding based on the vote of the town? Because it says nothing about that in the actual article.
what I can say, and this was mentioned March 14th when we were down there, that this is the sample language that MSBA requires, and we'll need to submit it back to them. I can certainly ask these questions, but it's taken verbatim from the draft language that they presented to us. It is, though, as you noted, Mr. Bonifrio, in the actual motion that we
Yes.
read that night
I
on
just,
town meeting floor.
if you read just the article, it looks open-ended.
Sure, sure.
So that was just my concern, but
Either that or
I
you
don't
can
know the
add-
legal issues, and how they usually fall.
Either that or you can see if you can add it on the end of them.
The way that the recommended motion is read is with the understanding that each of these articles will be reviewed not only by town and bond council, but then also by MSBA as well. So I could certainly check with them to see if the insertion of that language would be allowed.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other questions? All right. Then entertain a motion to end these.
I'll make a motion that we approve these 3
Oh, on the what?
warrant articles. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Wait,
It's already written for me, eh?
All you gotta do is
That's what
read
you call
it.
trust. Thank you.
We know what happened last time.
Recommended motion. Oh, forget that. To approve the draft warrant articles as written with the understanding that each will be reviewed and potentially slightly edited by town council, bond council, and the MSBA as appropriate before being placed on the May 7th, 2013 annual town meeting.
we have a second.
Second.
All right. Any other discussion? Okay, it's none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? It's a vote. All right, next item is approval of a couple of invoices from Lamro Pagano and Skanska. They were in the packages sent out. Entertain a motion on each of them.
You didn't do this one? Last time?
No.
No, okay. I'll make a motion that we pay the invoice number 1207-1301 in the amount of $6,139.80 to Lamro Pagano Architects.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It's a vote.
I'd also like to make a motion. We pay invoice number 1207-1302 in the amount of $3,839.50 to Lamro Pagano Architects.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Vote. One more. This can't do.
Can't go.
Skanska. This is I will make a motion that we pay invoice number 1311838-PDS-11745-14, dated 3/6/13 to Skanska, in the amount of $508.66.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? That's a vote. All right, so that takes the invoices out of the way. Next item is the just an update on where we are with the presentations to date and coming up, just some of our steps of what we've been doing just to get the word out there, give people updates on the project.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As noted on here, we've done approximately 10 different presentations so far. We had one earlier today at the Auburn Senior Center. We've got another one later this week at the Life Care Center, 2 actually, 1 for staff, and then a follow-up for residents and any family members who wish to attend. Next week, we'll present at the Board of Selectmen and Finance Committee meeting, as well as doing an additional meeting next week for any community members who would like to attend, that meeting being at 9 a.m. We did present this past Monday evening at the Auburn High Auditorium, and we had 1 community member in attendance for that meeting. So hopefully we will have some additional members that will join us. One's open. Obviously the ones at the Board of Selectmen and Finance will be taken and run live on Monday and Wednesday. And then on Thursday, the 28th at 9 o'clock at the high school. We do continue to update this on the local cable channel for anyone who wants to come out. And I certainly invite school building committee members, if any of you are able to attend, or perhaps divide up the different ones to help answer questions would be great. And then we've also got noted below, these are just the upcoming poster board displays. We've had them at nearly every function that has happened in the district since approximately early February or so, and these are the ones that are remaining right up until town meeting. And actually it doesn't note it on here, but there will be a presentation made at town meeting on May 7th, and then it goes to the voters on the 21st.
I'd just like to say I was at the Senior Center one today, and there was quite a few people there, and there was a lot of good questions, and it was really a good presentation by all, and I was surprised that as many had showed up, but they had some very good questions, and hopefully people will get out before the vote in May to see or ask any questions you have. They're not afraid to answer anything, and I just want to thank you.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I thank Mr. Page for making that comment, because I was just wondering, with all of these going on, what type of question is going to be answered, and the only questions that I have asked of me is, why did they pick that location way out there? Is that being explained?
There was really
thoroughly?
not much on that at the Senior Center today. It's more the tax rate, what's going to cost and stuff like that. Why are you going to do it? What are you going to do with the old one? What are you planning on doing? And then Mary Ellen was explaining, at this time, we can't really go on that until the subcommittee gets done with all their views of the buildings, what they're going to do with it and that. But once we get done, and there was questions on, well, can you use it for other things? And basically yes, and then they could put a couple possibilities, put a couple of the elementary schools in there, because there were questions about the footage. Why is you can't put the middle school children there, and you can put the elementary schools there, and it's a difference between the state laws and stuff like that with the footage of the school. And the Auburn Middle School has been overcrowded for a while, and they're using portable classrooms and stuff like that. But for other uses, it would work, and it would take a couple schools offline if it goes that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, I would just appreciate it greatly if something could probably be, you say the presentation something could be brought into it very briefly, because when somebody says to me, way out there, I'm saying, what do you mean way out there? I mean, we used to have a school out there, and it's not way out there. I guess there's just a number of folks. The middle school is where it is.
Sure.
And if you're moving it someplace else,
Right.
why are you doing it?
Right. Well, I think change is always a challenge
Oh,
for, for
absolutely.
people. But I will say at the start of the presentation, so I generally do an opening and then Eric Moore takes over. And he talks about the required steps from MSBA that we needed to look at, looking at a renovation of the current middle school, looking at a renovation addition, and we had to look at building new on that site as well as alternate sites. So he went through the process, he goes through the process of how we went through that whole procedure, and also pointing out that the West Street site was supported by the school building committee, and one of the reasons being it was the most fiscally sound project, if you remember, of all of the different options to build new here on this site. And as I explained when we do the presentation, that it's been the SBC's commitment right from the very start to build an educationally appropriate building, but also one that was as fiscally sound and responsible as possible for the taxpayers of
Well, it certainly sounds like it's being covered, and I showed up at the last presentation, as you know, and unfortunately, I don't believe it went forward. There was only one other gentleman.
We actually did, we did go through, we did do it for him, and he was a supporter when he walked in, and he left a supporter as well, so that was good.
Well, that was the most, I was, no one asked about how it was gonna affect the tax rate or anything like that. The few people that have asked me, this is no army of folks, these are just neighborhood folks or people I bump into during my morning walks and stuff like that. And they still think I'm on the finance committee.
Once a fixture, always a fixture.
They still keep the chair there.
The tax impact document actually will be posted on the website tonight, so anyone who's interested in going can go to the Auburn Public Schools site and then get into the site maintained by Skanska, and that will be listed there as well.
And that was at the presentation today, so that was a good time to have it developed,
Right.
Good.
so they could see it right out.
Just about the tax impact, is it lower in the first 2 years because that's when construction's happening and all the bills haven't rolled in?
Yes. Yeah, that's as you're building up to it, and then afterwards, that's when they restructure it, further down the whole payment down the road after.
And one other point, if I can, Mr. Chair, is when this tax document was created for the impact, we used a rate of 3% for the interest rate. Mr. Kazanovich reports that he recently went out and financed approximately $9 million in bonds, and it was at a rate of 1.89% interest. So this 3%, now obviously none of us can control what happens with with interest charges, but indications are that they're going to stay low. So this actually could be, and we built it purposely as the worst case scenario, because the cost of the total project could be less than this, and the interest rates could be less as well.
When does that rate get locked in? I mean, when do we know what that'll be?
Firm decisions have not yet been made, but likely what they do is go out and borrow a sum of money. They ban it for a couple of years, so that may be at one interest rate, and then once the project, because they wouldn't borrow the full amount right up front, they'd borrow it as they need it. So, but I mean, with construction anticipated to begin in full thrust by April of 2014, it's really not that far away, it's within a year or so time. And what I'm reading in the paper with Chairperson Bernanke, that it seems interest rates may remain low.
Yeah, great, thanks.
I just have one question, and I've brought this up several times in different committees that I belong to, and when we look at this anticipated tax rate, I wish town administration and the selectmen would come forward, because being on the finance committee, they came in, we had a presentation of this next fiscal year budget. And one of the key items was moving towards a single taxpayer rate, which is going to bring up the residential rate. So I see administration doing one thing, I see the building committee and school committee doing another thing, and actually stating a tax rate. They just seem to be competing. And I just wish that town administration would get up in front of either town meeting or selectmen meeting, whatever, and just state, are they going to try and do both at the same time? Because these figures as far as the tax rate are gonna change. And I don't think that I wanna be part of the committee stating one thing and something totally different happens, because after it's voted, I guess anything can happen. But I don't hear anything. I just
Yeah, I
don't
mean-
hear anything.
From our standpoint, I mean, this is the impact of this project to the
Correct.
town taxes. Now,
But
You're right.
we are putting it out in front of the voters, we
Yeah.
are putting it out in front of town meeting members that, well, the impact's gonna be on the average $46 or whatever. If they keep on moving towards a single taxpayer rate, for the next 3 years, we could get residential tax increases. I just wish they would come out and say, is that what they are planning on doing? Because it's built into their financial package for the next couple of years. And I mean, I've brought this up at finance, I've brought it up at our joint meeting, and I just don't hear anything. And I think it needs to be out in the open.
You're right.
I think you're right.
You're absolutely right.
But I think, Mr. Chairman, if I can, when they do change tax rates, they change them in itty-bitty increments rather than
They
all
do.
at once.
Well, I mean, this last time they went up almost $1 per thousand.
There's
I
people
mean,
that
I think that I'm trying to remember, it was 1850 or something like that would be the single rate right now.
Right.
Is that gonna be over 2 years? Is it gonna be
But-
over 5 years?
I hear you, but, I mean, there's not a lot that we can, I mean, we're showing what the impact is, and that's what, I mean,
No.
we're trying to say that this is, this is the impact of the school. Now, if the
Correct.
town decides to do something, something else beyond
Well,
this.
we're all
the board
part
is
of it.
like-
We're all part of it.
No, I know, and that's a question, I don't know if it's town meeting floor, or if it's, selectment
I would
meeting,
hope that they could just go up at town meeting and say, okay, this is the presentation, this is what our plans are, and, kind of
Yeah,
bring both projects into a unified presentation.
I personally, and it's all what I feel, I just don't think you're going to see a single tax rate for quite a while. There's more residential people that will voice opinion than there are business.
Well, I'd be glad to
Other
show you,
than a business, something
I'd be
that
glad to
don't
show you the
even vote on.
presentation they gave the finance committee.
but we digress.
Yeah, I know.
No, you got the point, but as far as the rules that are in place now, that's all we have to go by.
I know.
But you're right, there should be an answer.
Strategic planning.
So are there any other issues, concerns that, other
I'd like,
items?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to say to the rest of the group board here, I'd like to compliment Superintendent and our chairman for this seamless, transparent process that I keep pinching myself, saying, we're there, and without any kind of mumble and blah, blah. I think those two deserve an applause. With that, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I would think along with them, but I think there's a lot of other people that deserve the credit, including this committee. It's not done by two people, it's done
Right.
by a lot of different groups. And I like to thank every one
Pilot
of
and
them.
the co-pilot,
Yeah,
But
but
it's-
still, it's a lot of
we're the
work.
passengers.
At
Yeah,
the state level, it's a change of how they did, they drive it
A
a
lot of people
lot
doing it,
faster and to get you to a project faster, so.
No question.
It helps along, there's a lot of things that went into it that help the process streamline
This
it,
town is
so.
lucky to have these two.
So, you made a motion to adjourn?
Town is yet voted.
second,
Town is yet voted.
absolutely.
You hold your breath until
I seconded it.
All right. So with that, actually, before we could leave, I don't have a next meeting date at the moment, but I don't know if I don't think we need one before the town meeting, but if we do, we'll send out notices on it, so. With that, we're adjourned. Thank you.